Turf Today is brought to you by Toro. Imagine a fairy mower that drives itself, a GPS guided sprayer that's so precise it virtually eliminates overlap, or a battery powered commercial mower that can handle the toughest grass from dawn till dusk. This isn't just a vision for the future, it's what's happening at Toro right now. They're constantly working on solutions based on real input from real customers. So follow Toro on Instagram and on X to stay up to date on how Toro is always solving and always evolving. Hey, buddy.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Not too bad.
Yeah, late
Little,
night out at the game last night.
yeah, it was a late night. Boys lost in overtime. It's always tough with an overtime goal because everybody stands up and leaves the building at the same time. So it's a mad rush to get out of there, and it's cold and snowing, and
Was it
uh,
a packed house last night?
oh yeah, yeah. Well, you
Was it?
get somebody come like Ovechkin comes to town, it's always exciting. He's got a lot of fans that follow him, a lot of people that are fans of the Capitals because of him, because big name and stuff. And he scored in overtime last night, so he's only 21 goals away from breaking Gretzky's record. It's kind of cool.
You, yeah, you think he's gonna break it this year?
I mean, it's gonna be tight. It's gonna be tight. He doesn't play a ton. He mostly on the power play and stuff, but he does get chances. He got a few shots last night. So I don't know. It's one of those things. It's exciting. He'll do it eventually. The guy's a
Yeah,
machine.
yeah, he is. It's unreal, man. He's ageless, which is crazy. Like that was one of those records you never thought would go down.
I know. I like seriously, right? Gretzky has so many records, but to see that one get broken, it's kind of wild. And Wayne's been so great about it, right? He's like, oh yeah, he's gonna do it. Good for him. Can't wait for it. I'll be there. It's so great.
Yeah, yeah. Wonder how many games it's gonna take him to do it. Like when you get to that mark, you're 5 goals away or something, and Sports Center constantly switches over to see him chase it and all that kind of stuff. Wonder how many games he'll sit at like 1 goal away or something like
Right,
that.
right. Yeah, it'd be kind of exciting to see how that all plays out. He's on a good team, so I'm sure they'll do it soon.
Yep.
What's going on in your world? What have you guys been up to?
Just building bad habits, buddy.
Building bad
Staying up,
habits.
yeah, staying up too late, making the
Watching
mornings.
shows.
God, it's been so bad. Like since the holidays, the wife and I've just found a bunch of new shows to watch, and it's like okay, because you know how it is. They always end, the one episode with a big hook, and
Hmm.
and it's like, well, we're invested now. We got to stay up and watch another one. So the same thing happened last night. We're up too late watching a new show. Next thing you know, it's like, God, it's midnight. We got to go to bed. Kids got to
Yeah.
get up, go to school in the morning. Like we got to work. We got to do that. So I gotta,
Yeah.
yeah, we gotta break. So we were having the conversation like Monday night coming up is the championship game. So there'll be our
Hmm.
last late night. We'll stay up. We'll watch that. We'll let the kids stay up. After that, it's back to the 10 o'clock bedtime. We can get up, get back to working out, doing all those things. So it's been rough, buddy. It's been
Yeah.
rough,
It's okay to
but
have a little time off and break the old habits. But
it is, but
you'll get
it's,
back into it.
it's so hard to get back into it. I mean, we've talked about it a bunch. I'm definitely antsy and it's been good to be back on the road, but when you've got those habits and you're used to staying up late and all that, those 4 o'clock wake up calls hit pretty hard. So
Yeah. Oh, they get you. Well,
yeah,
what would be like your most favorite, most recent show you guys have watched?
Landman,
Landman. Okay.
have you
Yeah.
gotten into
Billy
that
Bob.
yet? Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. We just finished the last episode last night, and then we got into another one on Netflix. I can't remember what it's called. So we started that one last night. And I think we're like 3 episodes deep or something now. So yeah, yeah, there's good. Have you gotten in anything recently?
Yeah, I just started that as American. Is it Primeval or Primeval?
Primeval. That's it.
Primeval.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a
That's the one we
wild
started.
show. There's a lot of killing in that, but man, I mean, that's how it was back then, though, right? It was
Yeah.
just like everybody was so ruthless and like
It's the
wild. But
Wild West.
Taylor Kitsch, he's one of my favorite actors. Like he was in Friday Night Lights and John Carter. He was actually a Canadian hockey player that like went to New
Oh,
York
really?
City and became an actor. And so
No way.
he's the main dude there that's trying to help them in that show.
Okay.
Hmm.
Gotcha. I was gonna say, I wonder which guy he is.
And I know what that's like though. You fall into a good show and then you're just thinking about it, and then the next day you're like, I got an hour here. Do I maybe slip in an episode? She won't know.
Oh no, no. That's the one no in our household. If we start watching a show together, we can't stray. It's
No, because then you're watching it
yeah.
over again, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So yeah, she'll some way she'll find out. So I
Mhm.
don't even tempt it anymore. I've done it a couple times in the past early on in our relationship. I don't even test the waters anymor.
Oh,
Not
fair
even worth
enough.
it, buddy.
It's good. I don't know. It's probably good advice. It's good advice
Yeah. Yeah. Um, God, what was I just gonna say?
about a
Oh,
show.
no. I was gonna go totally off topic, man. We got our happy hour all lined up. Got to talk about that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's exciting.
Happy hour lined up during the GCS conference and trade show or whatever it's called now. Tuesday night, Whiskey Girl from 4 to 6:30 p.m. So we'll be sending out some RSVP information. Hopefully, a bunch of people can join us.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I talked to a couple people that live down there and they haven't been to the bar, but they know about it. And it's a
Yeah.
famous, bit of a famous spot down there. So I think it's going to be great for our group. Have some fun, get to meet a bunch of people in person and shake some hands, have some drinks. Should be great.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be nice. So we'll provide some appetizers, SN members, we'll get some drink tickets, and then, anyone else obviously that wants to join us is more than welcome, and just go up to the bar and do your thing if that's what you're into. So yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be great. Be great to get everyone together and see a bunch of people. I know there's a lot of stuff going on, so that's why I tried to avoid any conflicts with a bunch of other parties because I know there's a ton of parties already going on that night. So hopefully this will be a way for people to kind of wrap up with the show, head over to Whiskey Girl, join us for a little bit, and then bounce around to the next one.
Yeah, it's really good timing. Like we really, really wanted to do a golf tournament, but
Yeah.
everything's like kind of booked up during the day with classes and everything you're going to do at the show, and then nighttime is all the dinners and all the big sponsored events and stuff. So it was kind of tough to find even a golf course that had lights for us to have an event like that. So this is kind of perfect. Have a little happy
Yeah.
hour. Everybody can kind of prime the barrel and before they go out for dinner or before they go out partying. So it
Yeah.
should be a good time.
Yeah, I thought I had a night course lined up, but was called out there and left some messages and sent some emails and all that, and then did a little more due diligence and come to find out that their lights aren't operable. So the
Hmm.
night golf thing went out the window.
It just makes us so exciting for a couple years when they go back to Phoenix and we
Yeah,
can go
dude.
back to grass clippings. That's going to be an
Yeah.
absolute tournament. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit, that's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. Oh, we had a packed house last year with the format that we did with the little
Yeah.
shootout format, which is a ton of fun. But yeah, I've talked to a few people and even talked to the grass clippings guys. Like that just needs to be an annual thing.
Hmm.
Just put it on the calendar, see if we can see however many people want to come out. We can tie some education into it, maybe some other golf while we're out there. Just make it a big networking event, education event, and have a good time with all the people.
And the lights will work this time. They're
Yeah.
now
Oh,
tied into the city grid and the lights will work.
yep, yep. They've made sure of that. So I actually just saw an announcement this morning. They're doing a live. One of the live teams is taking on one of the grass league teams.
Sweet. That'll be
Yeah,
good.
yeah. So like I can't remember who it is. Kevin Na, Danny Lee, and not sure who the other live team member is, but they're taking on the Muskies, which is Drew Kittleson, Drew Stoltz, and again the third name escapes me, but it's yeah the Muskies are like the first grass clippings open champions. Big names. Drew Stoltz obviously is on the Subpar podcast
Hmm.
with Colton Oast. So yeah, they'll have some action out there. I think that's coming up. I think they just announced it like within the last day or two, and they're doing it maybe as early as next week. I think under the lights, they're going to record it all and then push it out. So it should be fun. Watch that on the YouTube channel.
Okay, so first, Ask the Agronomist segment. We're really excited to have the Andersons with us on this segment. And joining us is our agronomist from the Andersons, Ben Pease. Ben, wonderful to have you on the podcast today. How's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me, Adam. We're excited to give this a shot and get some questions answered from the audience or from the followers.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, we're definitely going to have Ben on as a full episode to dig into some things about his career and what he does for the Andersons. And when I first met Ben, he actually told me about something that I'd never really heard about in the industry. It was a first for me. So we can't wait to get into your story, and we're excited to have you joining us. So we're actually going to kick it off with a question from AJ Foskey. AJ asked the best resource to help build a spray slash fertilizer program. So what do you think, Ben?
There's a lot of good resources out there, but I think first place you might start is look at your own program and what worked last year for you, what didn't work last year for you. Since no one really knows your property like you do, that's always a great starting point. Now that's not a starting point if you're coming into a new position, but if you've been there, look at your failures, look at your successes. This time of year, in most areas of the country, it's a great time to go to these off-season educational events. We've got a couple national ones coming up. Your regional ones are really good, and even the ones that are just hosted by your distributors, they usually bring in some really good speakers. Even if you just gain one or two things from a morning of talks, a lot of the stuff we're going to know. We've been growing grass for years. Nothing's terribly new every once in a while. So you maybe just remember something, or you do take away one or two good new things to build into your fertility program. I really like that continuing ed this time of year. Some other good resources are always your sales reps to some degree, but they do usually have your best interest in mind, and they've got some really good agronomic guidance. So they'll have manufacturer catalogs, which have a lot of good resources in them as well. So the catalogs, the manufacturer websites have a lot of blogs and points of information to glean. You can work those into your fertility program. Another thing that I kind of draw people to is online tools. So the Andersons does have a really good one called the Turf Nutrition Tool. Yeah, Syngenta's got Greencast. There's growing degree day trackers that you can subscribe to based on your location. They'll tell you when you should be applying your fungicides and insecticides, things like that. Weather trackers are another really good online tool, of course. Soil temperature is the big thing across most of the U.S. in the springtime, so watch that with any of these resources, or fertility or a spray plan. I like to think of it as we're setting up a roadmap for the year. But the destination, there's many ways to get to the supermarket if you want to go get something for dinner. But you can change those things. You can stick to the same route you've always been doing. When we think of a fertilizer plan or a spray plan, we're looking at week by week or month by month, things of that nature. And it really plays into the time of year. So time of year, what's the stress factor on the grass? Are we in July and it's hot and we've got hundreds of rounds a day, or is it October and we've got dozens of rounds a day and things are cooling down and going to bed? But when you're kind of thinking along that roadmap, what you got to place in there is your control products. So oftentimes you can do your fertility application at the same time as a control product. So you're going out with your spring pre-emergence, can you fit some fertility in with those applications, whether it be foliar or granular? Post-emergent stuff can also be tied to a fertility application in your fungicides, insecticide applications. We can tie those things all together and save some labor time, save some machine time. But specifically when we think about nitrogen, you want to think about what are the soil temps at the time of your planned application. Is it in the spring and our soil temps are low? Maybe we need to pick a different nitrogen source than we do in July. We've got a few things. We've got soil temp, we've got turf stress, we've got time of year, we've got all those things relate into how the turf growth pattern is emerging. And so that'll tell us how much nitrogen to use, what kind of nitrogen to use, fast release, slow release, things like that. And you can even weave it in now. Are we going to spray it or are we going to spread it? So, man, you've got 6 plates flying up in the air right now when you're putting this roadmap together, but they're all going to land together, hopefully. And you pick, does it have a control product? Is it liquid? Is it granular? How much are we using? And a lot of that is weather-based and time of year-based. But a general thing is you want to have a good granular feeding base feeding kind of a thing and then you can sprinkle in your foliar applications, through the summer months when maybe stress is higher, using that base nutrition to slow feed, but then you're putting little bits and pieces in on a spray program as necessary. So these roadmaps, you don't want to just adopt a set it and forget it attitude. These we can put these things together. We can spend weeks putting these together in the off season, and in a matter of a few days, the whole thing gets changed. So yes, it's good to plan. It's good to say I need this in the shed, I need this in the barn, but know that you can't just set it and walk away. You have to kind of tinker with it as Mother Nature throws wrenches into the gears and tournaments get put on you or events. So don't be afraid to change it up.
If you built that big program, what would be the best way to kind of sell that to your committee or your club?
I think I like to go back to that compartmentalization idea. Sometimes, not all the greens committee members or owners are really tuned into turfgrass, and you just give them this big program. All right, I need 20 pallets of this, 10 of that. This is our general program. They're probably going to go, well, where is this all going? But if you break it off into, all right, for the greens, we're going to need these, and this is your priority on a golf course. If the greens aren't good, we're going to put a good chunk of our budget here, as you can see in this compartment, towards greens and maybe tees, approaches. And then here's our fairway bucket, and here's our general grounds bucket. So that's a good way to sell it to them, to kind of break it down, and then they can see, okay, yeah, the superintendent's prioritizing what the golfers are looking at, what they're interacting with for the most part. But I think another thing you can do for a greens committee or an owner is to give them some visuals. So if you go to some of these online tools that we talked about, you can show them growing degree days and teach them why you're applying certain things at certain times. Or if you want to show them how fertilizer works, you can go to the turf nutrition tool and put the products in there, put your location in, put your rates in, and it'll build you this nice, nitrogen release curve. So it shows them, all right, this application is going for 4 to 6 weeks, and then we start the next one, and you can see that they all level off throughout the entire year, going from start to finish. And if you're kind of building that out, you can't really, in that program, you can't indicate, well, here's where each application is with kind of a mark on the graph. You can say, all right, this date's where we're putting out our fertilizer plus grub control, because you don't want your fairways torn up by animals overnight or whatnot. Here's where we're putting out our pre-emerge to get rid of crabgrass, and give it to them that way. So they see, well, the problem is crabgrass or the problem is grubs. Here's the solution, and here's why we need to do it at this time. And I think that pulls it together, the visual nitrogen release graph with telling them, all right, here's this application for this problem, this one for that. And that kind of gets them away from just a big old list of products or a number at the bottom of the sheet, but here's where each one of these are going, and here's what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. We kind of have to dumb it down a little bit because even us, when we first get into the industry, a lot of this doesn't make sense. And, these products are expensive. So at the bottom of the piece of paper would be a big number. So yeah, you definitely got to go through it line by line and, explain why these products will work on each property or each specific property. So it makes a lot of sense. Ben, we really appreciate you stopping by today for our first segment to the Ask the Agronomist. Ben will be back next week. If you want to get your questions in, reach out to us or reach out to anybody that works at the Andersons, and they'll get the questions into us. Yeah,
There's
it's
our
going to be really
guy.
cool. Are you live from the golf cart right now?
I am live in our little storage area back here where we have many machines. So we're having a Cleveland-like day here. It's dreary and rainy and no golf being played.
Ooh.
Well, that's ideal for doing this then, I guess.
Absolutely. It worked out perfectly.
A Cleveland day for Florida is probably like 50 degrees, so I don't
It's
feel too bad for you.
It's actually a little better than that. It's about 68.
No.
A Cleveland day and it's 68. You're killing me, man. You're killing me.
It looks like Cleveland, so.
Okay. Little gloomy out there, huh?
Yeah, a little gloomy. What's going on with you guys?
Getting back after it, man. Just getting back after it. So getting rolling with the podcast. The visits are starting. So I'm going to be back down in your neck of the woods here end of February. So we'll have to connect and maybe get out for another round of golf.
Awesome. Where you headed to?
I'm not 100% sure yet. I know the Elbow Room will certainly be a part of the
Yep, I was gonna
the
say
event plans.
you guys are gonna meet down there for sure. Gonna have
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Panther National might be a good one for you to get to.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I might, that would be a good one. I'll have to reach
Steve
out, but
Steve Airbar is always a good one to talk to. I can help a little bit. I know who's doing PR over there for Panther right now. So
no, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. I appreciate it. So
yeah.
Jason, for those of our listeners that don't know who you are, just go ahead and give us a little introduction of yourself.
Well, I'm Jason Bruno. I've been in South Florida for since 1981. Started in the agronomy business as kind of a grunt back in 1987. Were you guys even alive in 1987?
I
Oh,
was.
you were. You
I
were. Adam
was.
was.
I was in the works.
So yeah, and so on our campus here, we built. Most people know me as the LinksNation guy, which is that's fine. That's the Spider-Man version. This is the Peter Parker version you're talking to. So
That's so good.
um, we built this little golf facility on our campus in 1990, and that's kind of how I got involved in the game. Really, I was a BMX racer for most of my young life, and so I didn't really know much about golf other than watching the '82 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach with when I was working as a busboy. But other than that, I didn't really know much about golf, and so that was kind of my introduction. And then once we built this place here, I got the bug. Really started to learn more about Bermuda grass, and then they sent me off to be educated through the IFAS program at UF. That's a local Fort Lauderdale branch, and I worked a couple of PGA Tour events early in the '90s, Honda Classic. Actually saw Tiger as an amateur playing in the quarterback challenge on a Tuesday afternoon with Bernie Kosar, Phil Simms, Dan Marino, and Mark Rippon.
Wow,
Oh, wow.
what a lineup!
Not many people knew who Tiger was. This was, um, I'm thinking it was 1993, if I'm correct. It was 92 or 93, and just skinny little Eldrick Woods, about 5'10", 120 pounds. And he was playing the back tees, and they were playing the, whatever the men's tees, and he was, hitting it 50 yards by them then when he was 130
Oh my
pounds. So
gosh, just bombing it.
Could you
yeah,
imagine what his NIL deal would be right now?
oh, it'd
Jeez,
be insane. So yeah, so that was kind of my whole like early beginnings in the golf was, learning how we built this little facility here, and then in I guess it was probably late '90s. We had a horticulture program here where they taught high school students, how to become part of the golf course industry, and then in the evenings they'd have like a certification program for people that were in the industry, and they closed the program, and then the whole baby became mine. So that's when I became like, pseudo superintendent. Um, and so here we are, 30 some odd years later, still grinding away.
that's such a great story. So why stay? Is there something that's really kept you at that property, or obviously having the whole school aspect is great, but why never move on?
Well, I think, there's a lot of when you get involved in any kind of an institution like this, um, you kind of live, eat, and breathe it just like somebody at a golf course. If you find a real good one, you kind of, if it isn't broke, you don't fix it kind of thing. And they've taken care of me here. And, if you're around long enough, you get a lot of flexibility. And that's allowed me to branch off into the media space and start LinksNation and travel. And so through seniority, and just having a lot of hours built up, I've been able to kind of branch off and sort of do my own thing as I transition out of this industry into that one. So it's been perfect. It's been great.
That's really nice.
So, yeah, tell us a little bit. You've mentioned it a couple times now. Tell us about Links Nation.
So LinksNation, when I started in 2009, actually, the urging of my one of my partners that was started out with me here in the agronomy side, he moved over to the IT department here on our campus, and he just saw that I was really getting like, I was getting neck deep up into the golf industry and just kind of every single part of it. And he said, "Well, why don't you just start something? You know all these contacts, and you seem to be kind of obsessed with this whole thing." So I was already doing some writing, but I thought, who's going to want to read what I have to say, and He said, well, you'd be surprised. And then that's kind of how that whole thing started. And then it just kind of grew from there. Like you guys know, anybody that starts something like that, you have your own doubts as to whether anybody's going to really want to pay attention to what you're doing. But you realize pretty quickly that if you have something worthy to say and it's of interest to people, they tend to tune in. So here we are sitting with you guys. So
And what kind of stuff are you doing with Links Nation? I know you do, a bunch of interviews, reviews, all that kind of stuff. I mean, what are you doing with it?
yeah, so I'm one of those people that I get bored if I just do one thing. So if I'm only talking turf or I'm only talking um, PGA Tour stuff, or like the guys that do, like, let's say, architecture. Like I'm really into golf course design, but if I just sat around talking about Redans and Barrett's greens all day long, I'd go nuts. So I like a little bit of everything. I like the travel side. I like, visiting resorts and talking about what they have going on. I love doing equipment reviews, and who doesn't love getting free stuff, right? Like, a shaft came from Diamana yesterday, and I still felt like a 10-year-old getting a Christmas present. So, um, who doesn't love all that stuff? I love all of it. So, um, every aspect of it, from, doing interviews with, coming on shows like with you guys and testing equipment, and every day it's a new, every day it's something different with Links Nation. So today it could be, I might be going to the park like you guys, where I might be testing out some gear. Tomorrow I might be interviewing Nick Price. You know, the next day I could be talking with you guys. The next day I'm on a plane. It's just sort of like it kind of never stops, and it kind of feeds on itself. So, as long as people want to keep paying attention, I'll keep putting out the content and visiting these wonderful places.
The day we played together, he was actually wearing brand new shoes, right? Somebody had just sent you brand new shoes, and it's just like, holy smokes,
I
what a
think
sweet job.
I think it was Painter that had they literally just come out of the box. They just arrived at my office like 10 minutes before I was leaving to meet you guys. I was like, well, no better time to test these bad boys out. So the new Jason Day gear, I guess, is what it is.
Ah, there you go.
Um, Yeah, Painter's a really cool company. That one of the founders, Michael Glancy, was he was the golf shoe designer for Under Armour for years, where he'd work with Jordan Spieth on every single model, every year. And he would spend copious amounts of time with me, like showing me every part of the shoe and how it works, and why they put this in the shoe. And then when he left and went to Painter, I said, well, if he's jumping ship, there must be something good going on here. And evidently, like, Painter's, like, a lot of people don't know who they are yet, but they're kind of jumping off the map. All you have to do is try on, a pair of their shoes, and you'll know immediately, like, oh wow, these are pretty cool. So yeah, that's what the shoes were that day. So yeah,
When's the new shaft going to be put into play? When are you going to test that thing out?
I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to put this shaft in my 3-wood or in my driver. So maybe I'll have to call Mitsubishi back and say, are you pushing this as a driver shaft? Because if so, maybe I'll put a Titleist tip on it and put it in my driver. But I struggle with 3-woods. I don't know. I guess I'm not the only one. So I'm kind of tempted. It's sort of a high launch, mid spin. I'm struggling with what club to put it in, but it'll go in one of them soon. I'm not sure which. I'm getting ready to head to the PGA show, so I don't know if there's enough time for me to make a gear switch here, but maybe when I get back.
You going over? You going to play in the skin game over at Winter
So
Park?
we're gonna do. I start my week off at the new Nick Price course called Saletta over on the west coast of Florida with Andrew Harvey from Golf
Oh, nice.
Atlas, and then we go over to Champions Gate on Tuesday, and we're playing at the international course. We're doing something with Omni and Buffalo PR, and then the show starts Wednesday. So it's just kind of crazy 2 days of wall to wall meetings, and then a couple cool dinners, but I can't disclose what they are yet. But maybe another podcast we'll talk about what those, they're kind of embargoed at the moment, regarding some new courses overseas.
Nice.
And then Friday we do Winter Park 9. We do a morning round. We do a brunch at the Briar Patch in downtown Winter Park, and then we do the Friday skins in the afternoon. It's kind
That's
of how we
good.
cap the week. Yeah, it's
Busy
not a bad
week.
way to go. Busy week. You almost need a vacation from the vacation. You guys know how that is.
That's one of Brian's favorite
100%.
lines.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
it's like one of those deals where you're having a great time, you're crazy busy, but then you get back and you've got to grind at home, and you're just like, I really need some time off from what I just did.
So, Jason, take us back a little bit. Did you go to school for turf, or was it something else, and then you kind of transferred over?
No, I actually originally went to school for commercial art, um, and after about a year or so, I dropped out because I just, there's a lot of stuff going on personally and in my family, and I just was lost. I just didn't, I could see I didn't want to do it. I took some business classes as well, and I'm like, yeah, that's not me either. And then I met my wife shortly after that, so we kind of did everything sort of backwards. We, started a family pretty early on. I've told you guys I have kids that are in their 30s, um, and then I, took the job here, and then they educated me once I guess they thought I was worthy, and they sent me to, sent me to school. So I did some stuff at Broward College, and then did some stuff over at the UF IFAS campus here in Fort Lauderdale, and so that's how it all pretty much came together for me. I kind of did it a little, but you know what? It wasn't a bad way to do it because I learned kind of the manual side of it first. Like I always say, maybe you shouldn't be an architect of any kind, whether it's buildings or golf courses, if you never ran a piece of equipment or put a shovel in the ground. Like it's kind of good to know the practical side of it before you start, making big decisions. You know what I mean? So it actually worked out pretty well for me that way. I'm not sure if I would encourage other people to do it that way, but if you don't know what it is exactly you want to do, in my case, I wanted to be a pro BMX racer. That didn't pan out. So there's a very select few that could have, earned a living at that. We did it a little bit backwards, but I don't think I would change a thing if I had to, if I had to go back. I think I'd do it exactly the same way.
What was it about the game of golf and this industry that really, really hooked you?
So, I think initially that I go back to when I was a busboy at this Italian restaurant, this old Italian guy named Dominic. With the U.S. Open was on the TV, and I was just running around cleaning tables and serving garlic rolls to people, and he stopped me and he said, "Hey, just stay here for a second, just watch this." And it was Tom Watson and Jack Nicklaus battling down the stretch at Pebble Beach, and I remember thinking to myself, I was like 15 years old. I remember thinking, one day I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go to that place, which was Pebble, and just like stuck in the back of my mind, and then it was probably I don't know, it was probably almost 10 years later, 7 years later that um, I was here at this campus and we started building this golf course. And I thought, wow, if I have my own golf facility, there's no reason why I shouldn't now is the time for me to take up the game and learn more about golf courses and turf and all that. Because it was all there for me to have at my disposal, right? Like I'd come out on a Saturday after work, bring a bucket of balls, and I would just hit this par three over the water until I lost every single ball in the water, and then I'd go home. And then and you'd lose 30, 40 balls pretty quickly when you didn't know what you were doing. And after maybe 6 months of trying to figure it out, and the guy that ran the program here, he sold me his Lynx Parallax irons, and so I was no longer using like ladies Chichi Rodriguez clubs. And and so once I started figuring out how to hit the ball over the water and fairly somewhat accurately, I was hooked. I was hooked. I could come out here with a dozen balls and play all day long. So I think that was pretty much it. And I needed a competitive outlet once I had stopped racing BMX, and I was raising little kids. I needed something still to kind of keep my juices flowing, but where I wasn't getting hurt or where I wasn't traveling very much. I could just, I could go to the local driving range, whatever, with my daughter and go, pound balls for an hour and then go home. And I think that, it was the right time, right place. Just it was one of those things. I love being outside. So, it was just a perfect storm, I think, really.
Do you have any cool stories from being a BMX rider? Like any great races or big crashes or
Oh, I
anything
have a
fun?
lot. I have a lot of cool stories and humble brags and crashing, stories. I
Nice.
mean,
A lot of scars for the
uh,
girls.
Oh man, thank God my wife didn't have a problem with all these scars I have because yeah, I have plenty. I have plenty of them. Yeah, I mean we had our fair share. My last year that I raced, we had our daughter was already like 1 year old. I told my wife, I said, look, I'm gonna give it one more go, and then then I'll be done. And so my goal was to win the state championship and get the number one ranking before I retired. And I was lucky enough that it came down to the last race, and I literally beat the guy I had to beat by I must have beat him by a foot, and that's how I ended my racing career. So it was pretty cool to to end that with a state title and be done and all that, and kind of walk away like John Elway style.
Yeah,
So,
just ride off into the
but
sunset.
that's 1990. That seems like a different lifetime ago now. It's. I still drive past that BMX track every day on my way home because I work south of where I live, and it's weird to I see the kids out there on Tuesday nights, riding around the berms and going over the tabletop jumps, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty weird. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, we could do a whole show on that if it wasn't turf today, if it was if it was BMX today, we could do a whole thing on that.
You still jump on the bike from time to time, or is it just something you put
I
away completely?
I finally got rid of the BMX bike several years ago just because I knew that there's no way I could help myself. But I did get a mountain bike, and so I haven't ridden in a while, but I definitely want to get back into it. Um, but it's weird because you can never really take that hell rider out of you, even if you're old. You just still kind of have that same mentality. Like you see a curb or you see a little dune somewhere, you just want to hit that thing and catch air. And I'm not sure if I crash, I'm not sure I could survive the crash. So I've kind of just stayed away from that right now. Yeah, golf seems to be like what's pushing my body to the limit these days. So I'm probably not ready for a BMX outing.
Getting out those,
Yeah,
stretching those muscles, using muscles you're not used to when you're out there swinging the
it, you
clubs.
know, it's sort of like somebody who has an addiction to a drug or alcohol. It's I drive past that BMX track and I'm like, thank God it's on the other side of the turnpike because I could pull off the road at any point.
You had young kids, right? Did you ever encourage them to do that, or did you get them into golf
The
instead?
BMX thing, no. My
Hmm.
my daughter followed me around playing golf when she was an infant, and
Hmm.
she became a Division I college player. She was the talent. I mean, she won her high school district championship with a 69, and went on to get a scholarship at Florida Atlantic, and yeah, she was it was good. The golfing thing actually took off to her because she was
Hmm.
really the talent in the family. So now she's got three kids and she's raising them in Augusta, Georgia. So she doesn't play a ton of golf, but when we get together, we still she could probably still go out and shoot 77 at any point without having touched a club for 10 years. It's very discouraging.
That
Yeah,
drives
yeah,
me nuts. My
yeah. I
brother's the
know.
same way. He's the same way. He can go pick it up
Yeah,
without touching a club for 2 years and shoot 78. Like, what are
right.
you
So
doing?
your dad,
This
so,
isn't
so your
fair.
dad probably takes pride in that. Like I kind of take pride in my daughter's, athletic skills, but at the same time, it's like if I took off, 10 years, I probably wouldn't be able to make contact.
Right, right. Forget how to hold the
So
thing.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's
So
how it is
what?
for me now. If I don't play I don't think I've played since I was with you guys, and I went out and
Oh
played
man.
yesterday to get ready for the show, and I was like, wow, dude, you're like a 15 handicapper right now. No idea what I was
It's
doing.
hard. It's hard. And then you feel bad when you get teamed up with someone for a best ball or whatever, and you're a six that's playing to about a 20. It's
I got that
I get
skins
it.
game next Friday in Winter Park, and I'm like, am I gonna be a donator? It's probably
You've
a
won a
pretty good
couple
chance.
skins out there, haven't you? I've seen some
I
stuff
have.
on Instagram where you've
Yeah, I've done
won some
I've
cash.
done well, but that was a few years ago. So
Okay.
maybe we gotta stop working so much and start
I
playing
know,
some more
man.
golf.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's sort of my goal in 2025 is to play a little more golf. I went to TGL the other night, went to
Oh,
Tiger's
sick.
debut, and I was covering that, and that got me a little psyched up. I'm not lying. Like it got me a little bit geeked up to get back out.
how was
That
that
was a cool.
experience? Was that cool to be a part of?
It really was. That facility needs to be seen to be believed inside there. I know, like TV. I don't know what I did see the first telecast, and then Tuesday I was there live. It's a lot different live than it is, watching it on the telecast. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but that place has to be seen to be believed. It's really incredible. It really is. I don't know how they came up with that rotating green with all those pins underneath it that, they can change the undulations, and it's really something. It really is. I'd like to know the price tag on that place. I'd like to know.
Ooh, and it's the second time that they built it too, so who knows?
It's yeah. Oh, it was a bubble the first time. So it was a bubble, which like some of those like indoor football practice facilities, and we had like a massive storm here, and they had a power failure, and the whole bubble collapsed.
Yeah.
That was probably a blessing in disguise, though, because they probably realized that what that facility wasn't all that sustainable for as big of an enterprise they were trying to pull off. So it's probably better that they did like a brick and mortar, because it's quite like before the show starts on ESPN. There's quite a bit that goes on operation wise to get everything together between the camera angles, the little drones that are flying around in there, the slabs of turf. I don't know if you guys saw. I posted the like 6 foot cubes of turf that they insert that they use as tee boxes in there, and they use like heavy equipment to move this whole thing in. So after the practice is over, they actually switch out the turf cube. I don't know how much that thing weighs. It's got to weigh a couple thousand pounds, and they just insert a whole nother 6 foot turf cube in there. That's like people think it's synthetic. It's not synthetic. They're hitting off of probably like Celebration, like half-inch cut tee box, maybe less than that. Maybe it's like 3/8, and then they have like probably like 1 inch, 1.5 inch rough, a cube of that as well. So it's quite the operation. It's
That's
really it's
crazy.
pretty neat.
We're having the
It really
director
is.
of agronomy of the facility on next week, so it'll be fun to
Oh, well,
talk to
there
him
you go.
about
So
it. Yeah,
you'll get the whole scoop then.
Yeah,
that's
we're gonna
it.
ask them all the questions.
I'll be tuned in. That'll be
Awesome.
good. Now
So,
I'm supposed to be there next week, but I'll be at the PGA show. So I'll do week 4 when Rory makes his debut.
there we go.
Oh yeah, that'll be good. That'll be
Yeah,
really
it's
good.
20 minutes from that. It's 20 minutes from the house. So how could you
Perfect.
not?
Perfect.
Right?
So, of all the things that you cover, Jason, I mean, you cover all aspects of the industry. What's your favorite one to cover?
So like genre wise or just a specific event?
No, just what part of the industry? I mean, you do the turf side, you do the architecture side,
You
you do the
know,
business of
I,
golf.
I probably it's probably two things. One is talking with, like you guys talking with superintendents and of course architects. I love getting into the nuts and bolts of what they do. Um, they do it on such a bigger, grander scale than I do it. What I do is so much more landscaping, and we manage like 6 different kind of turfs here on this campus. So it's not just a Bermuda golf course. It's all, it's very eclectic. And so that's a big part of it. I love talking to people like Jay Blasi and David Kidd and Ben Crenshaw about their projects, what they're working on. And then the other part probably that I enjoy at least as much, which is a little more on the selfish end, is the travel part. I get to go to Ireland, and I try to mix in, if I'm traveling to Ireland or I'm traveling to California like you do, I try to mix in some trips to go see Javier at Cal Club, maybe get Thomas to join in for lunch or something because I love talking to those guys. Or if I'm in Ireland, I'll sit there, I'll talk to Enda Mulrooney, who has like 400 acres of dunes land on the ocean, and he has a crew of 6.
Crazy.
A crew of 6. Like, how do you do it with 6?
That's insane.
Like here in the States, a good sized crew is like, anywhere between 20 and 27, 28 guys, right? This guy's doing it with 6. We're talking about dunes that are 80 feet tall. Like it's on the ocean. It's there's a lot less inputs over there. There's a lot less, it's a lot more, it's almost like minimalist, maintenance, which there's a side of that I really, really like, where it's just, there isn't the same kind of, let's say, demand on having everything being lush and green over there like it is here. If the weather is such, then it's lush and green. If the weather is, cold and dry or hot and dry and it's brown and tan, then you get fast links golf. You know what I mean? There's a little more, I don't want to say knowledge, but there's a little more tolerance and understanding of the weather dictates the conditions over there as opposed to here where a lot of the consumers, they just want perfect all the time, regardless of, you know, whether you're dealing with, flood, drought, whatever. So I kind of like the Lynx model. Um, how just the minimalist side of that. I enjoy that. So the travel is a big part of it. But as you know, Brian, travel is kind
Right.
of grueling too. So
Yes,
there's
it is.
something to be said for being home and just grinding on your work at home too. Like it's almost like you can't wait to get on the road when you're home, and then when you're on the road, you can't wait to get home. It's like it's sort of a human nature, I guess.
Absolutely. That's my home is wherever I am that night, right? I mean, that's basically what it boils down to.
Yeah, sure. And
And my
I and
wife
I'm
tells me when I'm home, I'm not really home at all. So, I mean, there's
yeah,
that.
because then when you're home, then now you're grinding on all the material
Yeah.
and content that you
Yeah.
you know just did on the road. So yeah, well, just imagine being Peter Parker, where you're still grinding on turf, and then you're on the road. It's like
Yeah.
you're double dipping.
I
Getting
don't know how
tougher
you
and
do it.
tougher to double dip. So
It helps when
well,
the kids are out of the house though, too, right, Jason?
oh, it is. But I say all the time, and I don't know. I do a lot more LinksNation content now than I did, say, 10, 12 years ago. But I played golf like 4 days a week back then. And I was, like a +1 handicap, and I was out of work at 2 o'clock. And, you know, it was, I helped coach my daughter's golf team. She was in high school many years ago. And so now it's like I feel like I should have a lot more time because there's no kids at home, but I feel like I have a lot less time, and I don't really understand it. I've tried to figure it out. I don't play much golf. I play golf a lot when I'm on the road, but when I come home, it's just a lot of grinding. So it's weird because I in 25 I got to get out. I got to get out on the golf course more for sure.
There's no time because everyone keeps sending you more stuff and you gotta, try and
Popular
figure it all
demand.
Right?
out. I mean,
That's
it's
right.
not a bad
But
problem, Jason.
Yeah.
it's not a bad problem. You get more shoes, you get more shafts,
Yeah.
you get more drivers. You got to go. You got to get out there, and you got to go hit them.
What's your golf closet look like?
Cool.
Well, the shoe part of it is it's a little bit obscene. I try to keep paring that thing down and purging it. I got to find more people that wear my size. Um, but and we'll talk about that off air. But but yeah, it's I when it comes to clubs, if you look in my bag, a lot of stuff in my bag is old stuff because I don't I'll test a lot of stuff, but unless I think it's better than what I have in my bag, I'm not quick to switch. Maybe drivers I am, shafts I am, but like when it comes to like irons and wedges, like I really don't switch unless I find something that I really like. So if it's something I've tested and it doesn't stay in my bag, I'll usually give it away on Twitter or to a friend or whatever. It'll get tested and then somebody else is the benefactor because I don't like having a lot of just junk laying around. Other than shoes, I have a hard time getting rid of shoes. Clubs, not so much. Like if a club doesn't work for me, I have no problem. Like there's no sentimental, feelings. It's out the door. So, I'll give it away to a charity. Something that's going on. If I see somebody doing something online, I may donate the club to charity, and they'll sell it off and make some good use of it. So it goes somewhere.
Right on. I wanted to go back a little bit. You were talking about the different crews, and I know we've interviewed a few people from overseas, and the common thing over there is smaller crews, more experience. So sometimes when you hear
Yeah,
that there's 8 or 9 guys working on a course, it's kind of wild. So I'd
it
love to
is
hear
wild.
about your course and your crew. What kind of things do you guys do there? Do you have an assistant? Do you bring in people to train them and kind of help them move on?
Yeah, so we have our crew it's a six person crew, 6 guys, all range in age from 33 to our oldest guy is 66. He's about to retire. So we got to find somebody to fill his shoes because he's that guy that, he's just dependable, great attitude. Everybody loves him. Kind of that irreplaceable guy, like you
Hmm.
say, everybody's replaceable, but there's some people that really aren't replaceable, I think. It might take 3 or 4 people to replace him. Um, So we got to figure out somebody to replace him. I'm really because we're here on a campus. We a lot of times we our farm system will be people on our campus. So this is sort of a multifunctional campus. We're a college, but we also have a high school on campus. So we can, sort of recruit younger people from the school here and figure out if this is something they really want to do with their lives. I think it's getting increasingly harder and harder to get young people into the field. It seems like everybody wants to be doing something on a computer screen rather than grinding out a hot Florida summer. At least that's been my experience. It's been a lot tougher to just find labor that then you can turn into skilled labor. But yeah, I have a good assistant. He covers, and whenever I'm off playing Spider-Man, he's holding down the fort and making sure stuff gets done. So they'll be throwing down about 800 bags of mulch next week when I'm at the PGA show. So
There you go.
Did
yeah,
you schedule that? Did you schedule that job knowing you were going to be gone that week? Is that how it worked? No
Maybe.
comment. You're going to plead the fifth?
Yeah, I'll plead the
Experience
fifth.
right there.
Look, you've earned it, Jason. You've earned it.
We had some other projects going on, so we kept kind of shoving that backwards until, yeah, until everybody was here except for Jason. So it's gonna work. It's gonna work out fine.
That's funny. When we were playing golf down there, you had a really cool Matt Schaefer story that I'd love for you to tell us here.
Okay, so I'm guessing this is the Matt Schaefer story at the 13 U.S. Open, where Mike Davis came into the tent. Is that the story?
Yeah, that, and then when you saw him afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so basically, I think this was probably it might have been the Wednesday of U.S. Open week, 2013. In the morning, Mike Davis and I think it's Darren Brevard, I think, came in the shop and they were telling Matt that they needed to cut down, and it's too tall. We want you to take like an inch and a half off the rough, and so this comes kind of on the heels of Matt Schaefer had been on the Golf Channel, like I think the night before, and everybody's saying, well, Marion's like 6,800, 6,900 yards. These guys are probably going to, tear the place up. It's wet. We had rain that whole week. And so Matt was kind of fired up. Like we were in our hotel. Everybody from the, like 100 volunteers from all over the world were there. And Matt's on the Golf Channel. So we're all watching the Golf Channel that night in the hotel. And they said, well, Matt, what do you think the winning score is going to be? Because people are saying it's going to be like, double digits, going to be close to 20 under par. They're going to tear your golf course up. And Matt just like went off, and said, and we were all cheering in the hotel. It was like you could hear like a rousing ovation coming out of every hotel room because Matt was just like fired up. You don't expect that. You expect him to just kind of give like a coach's answer. And Matt's just so old school. If anybody knows Matt, like, he there's not a big filter there. He just went off and said, like, my golf course is going to beat these guys to a pulp. There's not going to be any, 15 under par, none of that bullshit. I think they had to like, bleep them out. And so then the next, so that's sort of the backstory. And then, Mike Davis comes in and he's saying, yeah, I need you guys to cut the rough down. Like, you got to take an inch off the top of it, whatever. So they walk out. Matt turns around to his mechanics and he goes, the fuck we are. You take the blades off those rotary mowers and send those guys out there, let them run through it, make it look like we cut it, and bring them back in. So, and nobody ever told the story publicly, so hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying it. Like, what the hell? It was 12 years ago, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, a lot of times.
So we're all like Matt fans. We're like, yeah, Matt, yeah. So the guys go out, the rotary crew goes out. And they go through the roughs all over the golf course. And like 3 hours later, Mike Davis comes and goes, guys, roughs look fantastic. Thanks so much for doing that. The place looks great. We're ready to go. And Matt just turns around and gives this like cat that ate the canary grin. He's like, fuck those guys. We're not cutting no rough. Justin Rose won. He won. Excuse my French. You guys can edit my French out, but I think Justin Rose won at 1 over par.
Yeah.
And
no way.
We all
Minus
we all
20.
toasted Matt that Sunday night, man, after we handed Justin Rose the wicker. we all toasted Matt like, you're a motherfucker, man.
That's great. No, and then
He is my all-time favorite, man.
I was gonna say
He's my
there was
all-time.
a time down the road after that where you saw him and you had a nice conversation with him, wasn't there?
Yeah, I finally caught up with him at the superintendent show 2 years ago, where you and I met in
Yeah.
Orlando, and I was hunting him down. I couldn't the first day. I couldn't find him. I didn't know where the heck he was. I was asking people like, "Yeah, he's at this booth." Then I go to the booth. He's nowhere to be found. I'm like, man, there's no way I could go another, time without seeing Matt. Like I know he's in the building somewhere. So next morning it was like 6. I don't know what time. I don't know what time the superintendent show starts. 7 or something like that. Whatever it was, I got there early because I know Matt's an early riser. So I walked over to the booth like before the show even started, and I knew he'd be like, in his place. And I just walked right up to him, gave him a big hug, and I'm like, you know, you've changed so many people's lives, and including mine. And I know I've never really gotten to tell you this in person because the last time I saw him was the Sunday at Marion. We hadn't seen each other since. We exchanged a few emails and stuff, but nothing. We hadn't really seen each other. So I just gave him a big bear hug, and I just told him, I said, you you've opened so many doors to me. I can't even. I really can't even express how important you are to me. Even for somebody I hadn't seen in whatever it was 10 years. Guy is just class act. He's all about getting the job done. No nonsense. You know, he's just first class all the way, man.
You
Love the
you
guy.
you said opening doors and stuff. I mean, how did he help you?
Well, I mean, it all started where I went up there to interview him, and it was actually July 4th, 2011, and he was working July 4th. And I was sitting down talking to him, and he got a pretty quick impression that I knew something about turf beyond being a media guy, because I never said, what I do for a living outside of LinksNation. And he just called time out in the middle of the interview, and he's like, "All right, time out. Who are you? Where are you from? How do you know what you know?" And so then I kind of like gave him a quick, you know, tutorial about me, and for about a minute or so, told him, where I come from, what I do. And then he turns around and he says to me, "Well, how would you like to work at the U.S. Open on my team?" And I just like, my jaw dropped. I was like, "Wow, are you kidding?" And he's like, "No, I'm not kidding. I'd love to have you." So I show up at Marion and I meet all these incredible human beings, from Aaron McCurdy to Dean Lennert from Sydney, Australia, Robert Birdsall, who has since passed away, is a good friend of mine, became a good friend of mine. These are all superintendents around the world that I got to meet. That really, it just, friendships grew. We went on to work the 15 U.S. Open at Chambers under Josh Lewis. That was all because I'd worked at Marion. It looks good on your resume when you worked the U.S. Open at Marion. Oh yeah, we'd love to have you. And then the same guys that I worked at Marion with, I contacted them. I said, "Hey, you want to join me in Chambers?" They joined me in Chambers. Then we met, quite a few other people, and then we went on to work the 19 U.S. Open at Pebble together. And so much so that my buddy Robert Birdsall, he was a super down in Mexico, but he's a native of Michigan. He had been battling cancer for a couple years before the Pebble Beach Open, and he had told his wife that, we didn't know this, that his only goal was to just make it there to see me and Dean and work with us at Pebble Beach. And he did, and we saw him, and he was fabulous, and it was fantastic. And then about 2 months after that, he passed away, and we had no idea that he was even still sick at the Open.
Man.
He looked
Wow.
great, he worked great, and then I got a call from his wife that he had passed away, and that his dying wish was just to be able to make it to the U.S. Open, and he did. So, yeah, kind of a bittersweet story, but I'm so glad that I got to meet him, that we got to become friends, and that, we got to share that time together. So, yeah, and that's all Matt Schaefer. Like, without Matt Schaefer, I don't know any of these people, don't have those experiences. From the kid that was working in the Italian restaurant in 1982, watching Pebble Beach on the TV, to working, to raking that bunker on 18 every morning, is like, it's like, wow. It just was, like a full circle, all because of Matt Schaefer. So, he didn't have to invite me to work at that open. He could have just did the interview with me and drove off in his cart and said, see ya, and that would have been it. But he reached out, and I thought that taught me a lot, I think, that day. More important to be a mentor and lift people than it is to, you know, get what you're trying to get out of life. It was just it was a good moment. So that's Matt Schaefer for you, man. That's all Matt, you know.
That speaks a lot about his character. And I think that's pretty common in this industry. A lot of the leaders that we talk
Yeah.
to, and you've seen, a lot of different angles through golf. And I just want to ask you about the networking side. How important do you think that is, not only on the golf course, but in the whole industry, surrounding the support that we have?
I think it's everything because those guys, people like John Riley over at Longboat Key Club that I know you guys know, um, those guys like just love sharing information. Um, and it's like a fraternity. Even me not being, in your typical golf course setting, I could reach out to any of those guys and ask them, any kind of help, information. If I want to come take a visit, pick their brains, play golf, whatever the case may be, even if it's just, sit down, have lunch, see how they're doing. Um, the whole industry's like that. And I'm sure you guys have had the same experiences that I have. And that's probably why I'm still in this industry 38 years later. It's just, it's hard to get it out of your blood. And when I do finally transition, into just the media side, it'll be bittersweet for me too. Those guys are all, I consider them all friends. They're all just wonderful people.
It is definitely the best part of the industry, and yeah, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for people helping us, and the network of relationships that we've established. Kind of helping us and encouraging us and pushing us along. So it's certainly the greatest part of this industry. I think everyone we talk to is pretty much says it's what they enjoy most about it. So that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, and you're so fortunate to have grown up with your dad, and so
Yep.
that's like part of your DNA and part of your, who you are. And so that I think that's a testament to your dad and what the industry's done for him and how he's transferred that to you. And then, from the first moment you and I met, I almost felt like you were like a brother. You know what I mean? It was like we were like two kindred spirits. And so I think that happens a lot in the industry. It's sort of a magical thing. It's like pixie dust. It's like it's hard to explain, but it's there. And it's the reason why people that tend to the land are some of the most special people you're ever going to meet in the industry, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I gotta hear this Tiger Woods Porta John story.
So, all right, I'm going to make it kind of quick. So it's so when we were again, it's another Marion story. So me and Dean from Sydney, Australia, we became fast pals when we met. It was just we were on a 3-man crew that was cutting the driving range the week of the Open. So every morning, me, him, and trying to think, Keith Porto, I think was his name, he was the employee at Marion that shepherded us around, and we'd be in the dark every morning cutting the range. So the cool part about doing what we were doing was we were done every morning before the first players like came out to the range. So we had the whole day to kind of like screw around, and Matt made sure that all of us had like incredible access, like probably more access than we should have had. And then Dean and I were like 2 10-year-olds where we'd go places we probably weren't supposed to go. So we were actually kind of like we were sort of hiding from this USGA. We called him the Nazi because everywhere we went, this guy was like a traffic cop trying to keep us from going somewhere. So anyway, so long story short, I'm with Dean. He's from down under, and every time I'm with him, I'm doing this like horrible Crocodile Dundee accent thing. And usually I get home, my wife's like, "Do not do that Australian thing anymore. Like, drop it." Just walk around going, "Good day, mate," all over the place. And so, so we kind of somehow got into the players shuttle. Like, I don't even know how the hell we did it because at Marion everything was like, there's no like typical setup. It's everybody like the neighborhood is like where everything is. All the homes are like we're like one home is like the hospitality area. One home is like a makeshift like the locker room was like a tent. So they don't use like Marion's historical locker room there. Like I guess because everything in the clubhouse is being used for some USGA purpose. So we somehow snuck onto the player shuttle, and we're in the shuttle with like I don't know if it was like Justin Rose and a whole bunch of other players, and we get out and we're walking around, and then we see. I said, "Well, Dean, I gotta go use the restroom." He's like, "Well, the only restrooms around here are the porta johns." I'm like, "Okay." So we started heading towards the porta john. There, it's Tiger and Stevie Williams like right in front of us. I'm like, "Oh shit, there's Tiger, right?" Everybody's like, "Damn, there's Tiger." So, but there's nobody around because it's a players area. And so Stevie goes back towards the shuttle, and Tiger's like goes to walk into the porta john, and my buddy Dean goes, "Tiger's gonna use the porta john," and I'm like, "I guess so." So I go in the porta john right next to Tiger, and I'm in there taking a leak, and I'm assuming he's taking a leak, and I'm in there just like acting like a goofball, going, "Tiger's in there, Tiger's freaking in there, taking a wicked piss." And I guess Dean's out there waiting for me, and Tiger comes out of his porta john, and he can hear me in there just ranting like a lunatic. And he's like just giving he's giving my porta john like the 10th degree, and I walk out like a minute later, and Dean is on the floor rolling with laughter because he's like, "Dude, you had to see like Tiger was like beside himself, looking at you in there, just talking like with some stupid, down under accent, which is horrible, but." So that's kind of the Tiger story. Was
That's great.
I got another Tiger story too. I could tell you really quick. At the 19 U.S. Open, when I was done with my agronomy stuff in the morning, I was doing media work, and I'm on the range and I'm filming Tiger. I'm just shooting pictures of him warming up, and out of the blue, not Steve Williams, who's his caddy now? Fred
Jay
Couples'
LaCava.
caddy, LaCava. So Joe LaCava comes over.
Joe.
Joe turns around and makes a beeline straight for me, and I'm like, "Oh, what the hell is this?" He gets right in my face, and he goes, "If you don't quit that shit you're doing, I'm gonna have you thrown out of this tournament." And I'm literally just sitting there taking pictures. Like I don't know what I was doing. Maybe the shutter was too loud or something. No clue. But he's like I could like smell his breath. His nose hairs are like poking me in the eye, and he's like grilling me, about what. And I said, what was I doing? And he goes, "You know what you were doing." And I'm like, to this day, I don't know what I was doing. And I saw Tiger at the post conference the other night at TGL, and I literally wanted to raise my hand and go, "Hey, what was I doing at Devil?" And I got you so pissed off. But I didn't, of course. But so yeah, those are my Tiger stories. So probably if he'd have found out I was the guy in the porta john, he probably would have had me kicked out of TGL the other night. So
Well, now I know is your face is going to be plastered at the entryway, so you're probably not going to be allowed back in.
Yeah. So hopefully none of those TGL people are listening to this broadcast.
Yeah. He was the Porta John kid. We've been looking for him for years.
He was that wicked guy with the bad Aussie accent. Yeah, that's me.
That's outstanding. No, just find a good costume that you can wear, fake mustache, all that kind of stuff.
There you go.
Yeah, you'll be good.
Yeah, that'll work real well. We'll work that out. Yeah. So you coming back down? We're gonna go play the park again.
I would
If
love
Brian
to.
can afford it, Jason, you were hitting every green.
No. The lit. Oh yeah. Well.
Yeah. I don't think
You're picking that place apart.
You saw my game. I can't handle
wedges.
you in a money game.
I'm a +5 with the wedge in my hand, but you get a 6-iron in my hand now. I'm about a 15 handicap. So
you got all that practice in the backyard with your little wedge game area.
That's it. That's it, man. Maybe I need to like bulldoze the neighbor's house so I could like start hitting longer clubs or something. Because
just build a tee on the other side of their house. They'll be fine.
Bryson DeChambeau it.
Yeah. Just
we actually had one. We had one of those before my other neighbor sold his house and left. We had a tee that went back 120 some odd yards, which was kind of nice because my green was like the size of a thimble from back there. So it was only 120 yards, but it looked like you were hitting to like, somebody's patio. That's how tiny it is from that distance.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, but he moved, so now it's just me and my little 60 and 70-yard shots. So
it's the most important part of the game.
I got to get out to that grass clippings out in Scottsdale, man. That looks insane.
You do.
Oh, yeah. Let's go. I got to get that on the list. I'm going back out to California in a couple of weeks to go play Golden Gate Park again. So nice.
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. So you've had an ace out there, haven't you?
Oh.
Yeah. on the eighth hole, open media day. So that was pretty cool. I think they need to put a plaque out there.
They should. Were you the first hole in one on the
I was
property?
the first hole in one on the eighth hole.
Oh, that's a
So
plaque. Come
I think
on.
that deserves at least a flag. Like, I'm
Absolutely.
gonna
Yeah.
like, hey, like, what's going on here, folks? Like, at least a flag. Let's
I know
go.
you don't. I know you don't drink, but did you have to pony up for the rest of the crew out there?
Well, I think I probably told you the story. The great part about it was media day, right? So there was nobody there other than just like media, Jay Blasi, and some golf writers and some friends, whatever. And so they had coolers of drinks everywhere. So after I made the hole, like, drinks are on me. There was coolers of drinks everywhere up there on like the first tee. So yeah,
That's perfect.
great. Go
I
go get a
think
drink on me.
I think the only other hole in one story that I've heard that is as good as that with the free drinks was when Gil had the hole in one at the opening of his new one out in Coachella area. He was playing
Oh,
with some of the owners. They had their like first round out there, and Gil made an
Stop.
ace. They didn't have,
so
the bar wasn't open. None of the facilities were open,
yeah,
so
it's perfect.
you get away
That's a
cheap.
terrible,
Yeah.
it's a terrible rule. The guy that makes the hole in one goes broke. Like,
Yeah.
who came up with that? It's
Uh,
terrible.
Great
that's
shot.
right.
But
Empty your wallet.
I'm gonna see Gil next week, so I'm gonna ask him about that. That's
Oh,
good that
you
you
have
dropped.
to.
Hmm.
You have to. Were
Yeah,
you gonna
I'm
see? You gonna see him at the show? That's one
I'm
of
gonna.
those things you can't talk about.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. We'll drop it
but
then.
we can talk off air about it, or I can send you a message about it. Yeah,
Love it.
but it's publicly embargoed at the moment, so
Yeah, I got it.
I'm
I got it.
sworn to secrecy.
So with everything going on, Jason, what's the thing you're like most excited about that you've got planned, whether 25 or beyond? You got anything big in the works?
That's a good question. I'm actually working on like being a partner with executive golf tours. So that'll be like a big part of my next, sort of venture as I transition away out of this side of the business and more into the media side is I'll be doing a bunch of I'll be sort of in for lack of a better term, I'll be kind of a chaperone on some of these overseas tours in Scotland and places like Portugal. I can't wait to go see and talk to the turf guys over there and see how they do it, and that's really what I'm looking forward to the most. Um, Everything that we've been doing is exciting and it's still exciting, but going overseas a little more and getting to see what some of what the guys do over there, it's really, I think, probably the next chapter for me where we take this to the next level and I can dedicate all my time to it.
Nice. You'll have to start a
That's sort
podcast
of,
too. Gonna have to get it
Yeah.
behind the mic.
you know what? I have found that it's a lot more fun to be a guest of podcasts than to be a host of podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
This
You
is
might be
this
right.
is this is what I've learned. I've done quite a few podcasts and I've done some radio spots with like ESPN radio and some different locations, and it's a blast to come on for 30, 40 minutes, and it's like having kids. It's a lot better to be a grandparent than a parent. I've learned that. I learned that too. I didn't really want to be a grandparent. I didn't care about it, and now that I am, I have 5 grandkids. I'm like, I would have just skipped the first part, just do this part. So it's
Adopt
kind
a
of like
22-year-old or something, or
the podcast
17-year-old.
thing. You gotta get guests. You gotta have everything ready to go and edit, and I could just come in and just be like the guy who eats the food and eats the cake and goes home. I'm
Someone
fine with
else's
that.
party. I love it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I like
So
you guys. I like hanging out with you guys. If you need a guest, just call Jason. He'll be on.
That's it. You got stories for days. I love it.
I do have stories for days, and we can next time we have dinner and we play some golf, we'll have some more stories.
Well, I'll be reaching out to you. I'll let you know the dates that I'm down there, and we'll connect. We're staying in Fort Lauderdale again, but I'll be
Who can blame?
making the trek up. So yeah, the wife's got a conference, so anytime we can piggyback a trip and I don't have to pay
Oh,
for
there
a
you go.
hotel, it works out
No,
perfectly.
I believe me, I totally understand.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Well,
But yeah, no, it was a blast hanging with you guys. I wish we could have done more, but we'll do it again soon, hopefully.
yeah, absolutely. I know Adam's already itching to get back down there, so
oh my gosh, I miss it.
We'll have
I
to make
miss
that
it.
an annual trip or something.
Yeah, we'll do
Well,
an annual trip where I'll host you guys at the house once I get the green redone. we'll have some games
Oh,
out there.
oh,
You have
There
to
you
brush
go.
up on your
trouble.
six. You have to brush up on your 16, 70-yard shots so we don't
Well, no kidding.
have to go. We don't got to go retrieve golf shots into the neighbor's,
I
complex over
hear
there.
you. I hear you. Well, you were earlier dropping some names that you're going to be talking to, Nick Price, Jay Blasi, David Kidd and all that. So we appreciate you slumming it with us here for a little
Oh
bit.
man, come on! This is as good as it gets for me, man. This is a
Yeah.
blast.
I love it.
I
Before
don't
we
know if
let you
those guys call
go,
me. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, no, just before we let you go, is there anything we haven't covered you want to talk about?
I'm trying to think if there's anything we haven't covered. I'm
You're
trying.
not
I'm
going
trying.
to
I'm trying to
the
think.
to San Diego, right? You're not going to be down for
I'm
the
not.
GCS.
I wish I was, but it's sort of like Peter Parker only gets to pick and choose one or the other, and so I the PGA. I have my claws are so deep in the PGA show that I it's just something I can't miss. Now, if the superintendent show is somewhere local or close by, even if it's somewhere on the East Coast, it's not Orlando, I will, I'll be there. But if it's, on the other side of the country and I'm already going to be in California in second week of February, so it's just didn't work out schedule wise. But
I was going to say you've
yeah,
got another dream trip coming up to California, don't you?
I'm excited. We're going to do this one's going to be more of a trip with my wife because
Okay.
we had some things in the family happen over the fall that made it difficult for us to celebrate some things. But we're gonna go and celebrate. We're gonna go see Jay, and we're gonna go play Golden Gate, and we're gonna go see his new course out in Livermore, Poppy Ridge, which
Yeah, that
is
looks cool.
done. It's great. It's in growing mode now, so I'm pretty psyched about that. I'll probably do a feature on that, and then I'll be back in May for the opening of that, and that's when we'll go. We'll make that a golf trip. We'll go.
Nice.
We'll get back to Pasatiempo, and we'll get back to see some of the other ones that I'd like to see the Meadow Club. There's a couple out there that I
Meadow
still
Club
haven't.
is so good.
If you know anybody who wants to throw me a bone for Monterey Peninsula, like I still have not been on that property. If there's anybody listening who wants to, host me in May at Monterey Peninsula, I'm not bashful.
There you go. There you go. You can't
I'd
pull a
just be
rated
happy
card
to,
or anything?
to be honest, I'd just be happy to walk the property. I
Yeah.
don't need to have sticks in hand. I just want to see the property.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I was gonna say we
yeah,
talked about that when we played. I mean, that's my favorite thing. Like
yeah.
I'd much rather go walk a nice golf course, than play it sometimes. It's
Yeah,
just
because sometimes when you're playing it, there's all these expectations, and you're not paying attention to all the little things that you would
yeah,
because you're so concerned with birdies and bogeys,
yeah.
and it's like you just lose, you lose the focus of all the details of what's going on around you. So I, I'm just as happy to walk a golf course now as I am to play it.
Yeah.
And then you can leave in a good mood too, which is always nice.
This is true. Like you're never disappointed if you're just walking the place. So that
See, if
is
it's
true.
sometimes though, if it's me, like I know I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hit it there, and then I'm gonna chunk it over into that bunker, and then I would just make six in this hole, and I'm out. I'm out. So you saw my
Oh
game.
I
my
see it now.
God, come on,
I can
man.
see it now.
That's
I can see it now.
that's that's wrong. That's just
Yeah.
wrong. Can't think
Well,
like that.
this has been awesome, Jason. Greatly
Oh, thanks for
appreciate you
having
taking
me.
the time to join us and look forward to connecting here, hopefully in another month or so.
I'm excited, man. Thanks for having me, and it was great to see you guys when you were down. Let's do it again.
Yeah, well, you boys take it easy when you're down there, okay? Don't call Jerry and
Yeah.
start inviting him to your parties or anything.
Good old Jer Bear. Love it. Awesome, Jason. Well,
Thanks,
hey, thanks
guys.
again, buddy.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
All
thanks
right,
so
talk
much,
to you soon.
Jason.
All right,
All
take
right,
care.
take care.
Mr. Bruno.
That was great.
What a
That
beauty.
was great. Yeah, he's got some cool stuff going on with LinksNation. So hopefully all of our listeners should go check it out. A lot of cool course reviews and interviews with superintendents. He's got some neat things going. Like I said, I mean, he touches all parts of the industry. So any golf geeks out there, he's got a little bit of everything for you.
It's cool that he loves the agronomy side, knows so much about the science of the grass and everything. But then, he starts talking about the different things with the golf clubs and the shafts and everything. So he's involved in every aspect of the golf world. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's awesome. I mean, he had no background in golf whatsoever, right? I mean, he just started picking it up and playing the game when they built a little golf course at his campus. And now he's like, at one point, like you said, a +1 or something. I mean,
Hmm.
that's incredible.
It
That's
is.
incredible.
Yeah. Fall in love with the game. It'll do that to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. it's incredible and frustrating all at the same time that, someone take it up that late in life and they get all the way down to a plus. Like, God, man, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah. I used to always ask some of the older members at our course, do you get better as as you age? No, fuck no, you get worse as you age. Like, there's nothing to look forward to. It's always more frustrating.
Oh man. People are
Uh,
probably getting tired of hearing me complain about my golf game, so I should probably stop.
you'll be fine. I'm excited to go play at Torrey. There's a couple great courses there with
Right?
Aviara and some of the other spots. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Just to be down
Yeah.
there with the weather and everything too. It's such a great break.
Oh, and we get the team up out there. People are going to see some content from us out there.
Yeah,
Teamed
yeah,
up playing in the best ball and the scramble.
yeah.
Give
It's gonna
people
be
an
fun.
inside look what that's all about.
Yeah, we're gonna have
I got to
cameras
start getting
and
into the in. Yeah, I got to get into the indoor nets here, some simulators, and start
start taking
grinding
some
away,
swings.
buddy. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can't embarrass ourselves out there.
Oh, it's gonna be fun. I had a lot of fun
Yes,
when
it
I
will.
played in the one in Orlando. So it was one of like the best weekends I've ever had outside of, my hockey stuff or doing things with family. Like it was just something I didn't expect. And then you get down there and you're like, holy shit, this is so cool. Like they
Oh,
pull out
so
all the
fun.
stops for everything. It's not like
Yeah,
anything is, oh, where do I go or what are we doing here? It's just like all laid out for you and all taken care of, first class all the
yeah.
way.
And that's amazing. I mean, it's just a testament to the behind the scenes work done, in partnership with the GCSAA and Toro. It's what 400 players, I think, spread out over 4 or 5 different sites. So just, the logistics of managing one site in a big tournament for one location is challenging enough, but to do it spread out with that many players on that many properties, it's amazing what they're able to pull off and accomplish with that event. So I'm psyched for it. Can't wait to get out there. I've got some golf lined up for Thursday before the show, get some practice rounds in, and then hopefully you and I are able to go play somewhere Friday, and we head into the weekend of the tournaments in prime form.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be nice.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to have to reload on some golf balls by the time we get to Saturday. So
Possibly.
I'll come out with 2 dozen, and by
Oh
Saturday I'm
man.
going to need to go back to the shop and support the municipality there at Torrey.
Hmm. Yes, and for anybody listening that's going to be a part of that, we're going to have cameras and microphones and stuff. So if you guys want to get on the mic or get on the camera or get a picture or something like that, we're trying to get a ton of content for ourselves and for Toro and for the tournament and everything. So the more you can get involved, the better. Don't feel like, oh, those guys don't want to talk to me or they don't want me on camera. Like get involved,
Yeah.
grab us. We're friendly guys. We want to meet everybody. We want to shoot the shit and get to know you guys. So don't feel like we're not people that can't be approachable or your story's not important. We want to be able to highlight everything. So it's gonna be a lot of great content down there. And if you want to be involved, get involved.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And then, come showtime when the show floor opens up, we're going to be cruising around with some cameras and microphones there as well. So, if you bump into us when we're out and about walking the floor, stop us, say hey, and get up on the mic.
Yeah, yeah. And if we ask you to do something and you don't want to do it, no hard feelings. It's
Yep.
it's sometimes it's hard to know if somebody actually wants to be involved in something like that. So we
Yep.
will be asking people. But if you're somebody that's like, yeah, I'd love to be on a little interview or I'd love to be on the camera for something, come and find us and we'll make it happen.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Can't wait. It's hard to believe it's only like 2 weeks away.
It's coming up. This is our busy time. Like I got the Ottawa show next week, taking some videos, and then we head down next weekend. We head to Niagara Falls for the hockey superintendent's hockey tournament, which I just keep getting more messages and more texts about it. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We did hear that the Michigan team pulled out, which is very
Oh,
unfortunate.
no.
Very unfortunate. They always have a great team, good group of guys. So I don't know, something must have come up with them, and they can't make it. But it's going to be a competitive tournament, and we turn around and we fly to San Diego after that. So
Yeah.
lots of content and probably lots of beers, but I'm looking forward to it. It's a busy
That
time of
usually
year.
makes for the best content.
Usually does. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. 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 How pumped are you for the hockey tournament?
Excited. I've heard that some of the teams have been beefing up their rosters, so I don't
Oh.
know. It's going to be fun. Like it's always that it's a fun tournament. You're down there to network and get away and be with your buddies and stuff, but then it gets really competitive too. So it's like it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
So do you have to like check everyone's credentials to make sure they're not bringing ringers in and stuff? Like, they just getting former professional hockey players and stuff like, oh yeah, he's on our staff. Sure.
from what my understanding was, it's supposed to be anybody that's in the industry, maybe somebody that's slightly removed from the industry. So I played pro hockey with a couple guys that grew up in the turf industry and they live in Toronto. So they're on our team. They meet us down there, they play
Mm,
with us. So they were greenkeepers. They have worked at the golf courses. The one guy's still in the industry. So it's you kind of got to be careful. Like I couldn't just call my buddies that I play senior with and be like, let's go to Niagara Falls and win this tournament. Like
yeah.
you kind of have to be in the industry a little bit, but there's ringers
I
from
don't
time to
know. I mean, a
time.
guy that grew up in it's allowed to play. I mean, it sounds like it's a friend of a friend. Like if you know somebody that works in the turf industry, you can play almost. Come
Yeah,
on, man.
yeah, maybe. I mean, they just want to get more people down there, right? The more people that get
Yeah.
involved and want to be there for that, because it's a Tuesday, Wednesday during the week. So if you're not working in the turf industry and get the time off to go do this, it's kind of hard to make it work in your schedule. So
Well,
I
I
don't
know
know.
that the great one plays a lot of golf and he's got friends that are superintendents and, part of the industry. So I'm sure he can still skate. Maybe he'd
He
want to
could,
join your team.
he may be, yeah,
Yeah.
sneak him in there. He'd want to be down in Niagara Falls at the last week of January.
It sounds ideal.
Oh
Sounds
my God.
great.
Yeah. The non-tourist time of year, it's gonna be fucking cold down there too. My God.
Yeah, it is. That's all right. You'll be indoors most of the time, right?
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a lot of fun. There's guys you don't see all year or talk to all year, and then you get to see them at the tournament and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, no,
And you
it's gonna be a
guys, you
good
guys
one.
have a big hotel, right? You all stay in the same place and hang out downstairs after the games.
It's yeah, it's a joke. Like the way that they
Yeah.
have that hotel set up, anybody that's been a part of that, it's amazing. It's like getting to be kids again for a few days.
Yeah.
They're just like, here you go. Like if they had mini sticks set up at the rink, I bet or at the hotel, I bet you guys would play.
Yeah. Oh, it's too good. Too good. Sweet, man. So what else you got cooking then? You got the show, you got the hockey, and then just a bunch of family stuff, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I
All
know
right.
it's my wife's kind of taking the bull by the horns right now and being a busy time and having to travel a little bit. It's a lot of it's on her, so she's
Yeah.
she's gearing up for that. It's kind of tough, right? Because going away, it's going to be tough on her, but at the same time, like you have to go. It's part of your
Yeah.
job, and we got to go and do work, and it's important for us as a family for me to work. So it's kind of tough. I always feel bad leaving, but you got to do it. So I'm
Yeah.
really happy that we have that we have a great relationship and that she's so good with the kids and she's able to kind of support me when I do go away. So we're lucky that way. It would be hard to do a job like this if you didn't have a supportive wife. And I remember my superintendent telling my wife on our wedding day, he was like, you're marrying a guy that wants to be a superintendent. Like your life is not going to be regular. He's not going to be home when you want him to be home. Like as long as you understand you're signing up for this, like, and so she's always had a bit of an understanding. And the fact that I do work at the golf course, but I can be home, a little bit more often to help with the kids is helpful. But wouldn't couldn't be able to
Yeah.
do it without her.
Yep. No, absolutely. It takes a support system. That's for sure. So
Hmm.
very, very lucky. We're both very fortunate there. So
Yeah, and it's just a testament to, getting into this industry and all the support that we have. We talk about it all the time, beat it like a dead horse, and we wouldn't be here. And, Jason talks about mentors and stuff, and I was sitting there thinking about, it was one guy. Like I've had so many hockey coaches and I've played with so many guys that were older than me that were, helpful to me and stuff, but there was one guy that made me fall in love with this industry and made me want to do this. And he pushed me and he helped me with everything that I asked him to help me with. And those people are so special. And that's why they do this job. And that's why they, don't ask for all the credit or they don't, they're not doing it for the money. They do it because they love it and they have a passion for it and they want to pass it on. So it's
yep.
amazing.
Yeah, this industry is more about growing people than it is growing grass.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it so fun.
Put that on a t-shirt,
Absolutely.
Brian.
Yeah, it's a little wordy for a t-shirt, but
Yeah.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. No, it is special. Yeah, I think we all have those people in our lives that have really pushed us and got us to where we are. And I'm personally very grateful for all those people that have helped.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Well, buddy, I guess people, if you're still listening, I don't know how many listeners we still have at this point of the show at the end. Next week is Tanner Kaufman, the director of turf at the TGL SoFi Center. He is going to be coming on and you're listening to this on Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, we're interviewing him on Friday. So you're gonna have a few days to send in some questions. We'll put up a question box on Instagram. But it's a whole new ball game with what he's got going on. So if you got some different questions or interesting things you want to know about, let us know, and we'll definitely we'll ask him, because it's gonna be a fun one with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to hear all about that facility. So it'll be very unique.
It's gonna be interesting. So if you have
Yeah,
questions, send them to us, and we'll get them out of him.
yeah, can't wait to hear. That's gonna be a fun conversation. So, all right, bud. Well, you have a good one. I will talk to you. We've got next Friday, right?
Next Friday, yeah. If something
All
comes up
right,
before that, I'll let you know, but we should be good to go.
beautiful. All right, man. You be good.
Okay, you too.